Hello again, I'm still Eliza, and welcome to the final update on my wooden guitar rack project. It's been about 2 months since I last recorded one of these, and I'm happy to say that as of today, February 7th, the project is finally complete. So here's what I've been working on for the past 2 months. So when I left off in the last video, all I needed to do was add that part that holds in the guitar necks. So I have a little bit of a cough, so my voice sounds kind of weird, but this piece that I cut before winter break, I cut it pretty much perfectly actually, so I just kind of like wedged it in here, and it's just sitting here by tension, but obviously that's not stable. So I cut these, and I'm just going to put it under here as sort of a brace, and then I'll put a screw on the top side, and then here. So I was on a roll, and then in true Eliza fashion, I went ahead and broke the stabilizing piece that I was talking about earlier. You'll never guess what I just did. I broke the wood, so I cut it even smaller. Shouldn't change things too much, but now I'm going to pre-drill it so that it doesn't split. So all I did to fix this issue was just shorten those support pieces a little bit, which thankfully didn't change their functionality. And then I got a really tiny drill bit, and I did this thing called pre-drilling, which is where you drill a hole in the wood that is smaller than the screw that you're going to use, so that the wood doesn't split when you actually put the screw in. Okay, so there's me just screwing those in, and then that's what it looked like when everything was in and it was all done and nice and stable. Okay, so it's Monday, it's a new week, and this is pretty much done aside from the fact that I want to add some sort of padding for the guitars, and I also am going to put these hooks on the sides once everything is done. But before I do that, I'm thinking I kind of want to stain it, and I kind of considered that earlier when I was planning the whole project, but I didn't actually stain the pieces before putting them together, which is probably what I should have done if I were more organized, but I wasn't. But now I'm thinking, can I do it like this? Should I? Is it worth the risk, or am I going to make the whole thing ugly? So I'm just trying to figure out that. I'm doing some research, and I might just go for it, and I might regret it, but we'll see. Okay, so now the project was technically done, it was built and functional and it could serve its purpose, but it still looked like a bunch of scrap wood kind of just put together, and I knew I couldn't leave it like that. So despite all the reasons that it was probably a bad idea, I took a leap of faith and I decided I was going to stain it. And don't worry, I did do some tests with the wood stain and the wood conditioner on some scrap wood beforehand to just find a good technique and just be sure I wasn't about to destroy my whole project. And before I started any actual staining or conditioning on the full project, I first went through and filed any rough or raw edges and filled some holes with wood filler. And then I went ahead and did staining. Okay, so in total, I spent 14 days staining this thing, and I don't know if that sounds very long to you, but to me, it felt like an eternity, especially because I was on my hands and knees most of the time. So I was pretty nervous going into the staining process because there were a lot of forces acting against me here. First of all, I had never stained furniture before, so I had no clue how it would turn out. Secondly, my project is pretty big, which can make it really difficult to get like a nice, even application on the project. And lastly, this entire thing was already screwed together and assembled, which is not the way you would normally stain something. So I knew that it would be really difficult to get the stain on all those little corners and cracks whilst also maintaining those nice even strokes. And it was, in fact, very difficult to do that. But I managed to make everything look nice in the end, and I'm very happy with the results, and I think the darker color of the stain brings everything together very well. Now, finally, almost exactly 5 months after I first drew up this idea in my notebook, here it is, sitting in front of me, already holding some guitars and serving its purpose. In these 5 months, I have learned so many things and embarked on so many new adventures, and I have grown and changed a lot as a person. But no matter what, every day I came back into this room and devoted my time and energy to making this project what it is now. There were definitely lots of ups and downs. Some days I left feeling very accomplished and proud of my progress that day. while other days I left feeling frustrated by a failed design or a setback in my progress. But I always came back the next day to continue my work. In the beginning, there were a couple times that I debated abandoning this project altogether because I just didn't believe in myself. But I stuck with it, and I think it's important to note that I did all of this almost completely by myself, with the help of my teacher and teaching myself new techniques along the way. It actually taught me a lot about myself as an engineer, but also as a person. I had to put myself out there and get used to trying and failing and learning. Thanks to this project, I have gotten so much better at understanding that I won't be able to do everything perfectly on my first try, but that doesn't mean that I won't get there eventually. So, for the final time, this is my wooden guitar rack project. I'm Eliza Jefferson, signing off, and I'll see you in the next project.